Today we're in the heart of Westboro and we're going to go inside the GCTC, dinner and a show. And if you've never eaten here, you're going to love this place. Tapas, the art of food with Ottawa Eats. We're here with Ziggy. I like to refer to you as Ziggy. That's my nickname for you. What do you think so far?
It's perfect.
We're off to a roaring start. Excellent. Okay. You are the man in charge of this place, which is...
Teatro Cafe.
Yeah, exactly. And you told me this off camera, but I'm going to use this anyway, but Spanish for theater, which is very appropriate because of where we are.
Correct. It's a really neat space. Being in this space, it's all open. So we have a restaurant that's yet in the main area. That is where their box office is.
Right.
So we had to do something a little different. So we've got food that's a little different. We've got style that's a little different. And everything's fun.
And now looking at your menu, it is very diverse. And we were talking about the menu just a little bit. If you get a chance to come down here, you do have to look at the menu just out of curiosity. But do come here and eat. But if you don't have the time, just look at the menu because you will come back, because there's everything on here has just a little bit of difference to it. It's not something you're going to find in any ordinary restaurant.
Correct, and the main reason why is our chef comes to us from a very different means. Our chef, Mook Sutton, is from New Zealand.
Okay.
He spent the last 2 years in the Cayman Islands cooking, and he's been back in Canada for 3 months.
Oh my God, I'm so confused. That's way too many flags. But who cares? He's here, he's working for you, and he's making great food. And this, obviously being a very unique space, it offers you the opportunity probably to see some very unique people and characters that come through here as well.
Absolutely, and the space is very neat because it transforms all the time.
Yeah.
We're doing dinner, but then we can be doing a special event. We can be holding an opening for one of the plays.
Right.
It's not always the same every day.
And do you do any acting yourself whenever you're... No. Okay. So I was going to ask you to do some Shakespeare, so that's not going to happen? What about the serving staff? Any kind of Hamlet or anything like that?
Not at this point, but if you keep that up, they're going to come in and want to do some.
Well, okay. Maybe we can do a small piece of theater at the end. I don't know if you have to do that accent, but... No? Okay. All right. Well, let's get to the food then, because that's probably more entertaining than you or I. What do you think?
Way more entertaining than me.
Awesome. Okay, let's get to cooking some really good food. This is the man with the knives, spatulas, bowls, pans. Am I forgetting anything?
No.
No?
That's okay.
Oh, could you please introduce yourself to all the folks at home?
Mook Sutton.
Wow. So you're a unique character, as we were told by Ziggy, because you're not just someone that just came off the street with a spatula and said, I'd like to work here. You come here from a very unique past, correct?
Yeah. I've had a lot of jobs. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie,
Yeah.
yeah, a bit of a job hopper.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that a term that you use a lot?
Yeah, it's more polite than restaurant slut.
Oh. Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, I'd like to also warn you that there may be an awkward hug anywhere in the show.
Okay. Right.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
You look like you're going to hurt me.
Yeah. Oh well, a little.
A little?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's start with something that we've talked about already just a little bit. The tuna is something that it doesn't come from a can.
No.
Perfect.
No.
All right. So
Way
this is
cheaper
quality.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is actual quality stuff. So show us how you create this dish and what this dish is exactly.
Okay, so this is a trio of tuna, which is a ceviche,
Okay.
a tartare, and then a seared loin with crab and avocado.
Perfect. You've lost me already, so you're going to have to slow down, but that's okay. So how does this work exactly?
Okay.
See, that's definitely not from a can. This is
So
looks
this
much
is
better.
ahi tuna that we get down the road. It's a fish supplier on Wellington Street. We try to get as much as we can locally.
Right. Yeah, Ziggy was mentioning that you guys usually get most of your produce, meat, and that kind of stuff all from the local area within walking
Yeah,
distance.
as much as we can. We
Okay.
try to stay away from the big suppliers. So start with the seared loin.
So whenever you have this this seared loin right here, is this prepared day of, or when do you usually prepare something like
We
this?
prepare this right before service.
Okay.
It tends to dry out if you leave it too long.
Okay. And how long do you sear it for when you're searing it? A lot of people say if you're looking at a cookbook, they'll say 2 minutes on one side, 2 minutes on the other side. But is it specific for tuna?
No, we just watch the outside. As soon as it's colored on one side, we turn it to the next.
Okay. Now, these are very deliberate slices that you're doing as well. Is
Yeah.
there a reason why it's that thick?
Just for texture, right?
Okay.
If it's too thick, it
It
you don't
becomes a
get-
big brick?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So the tuna gets crab and avocado. So this is avocado with red onion and cumin and lime juice, basically. So we mix that up with the crab meat. And then we just make it into a little quenelle.
Does that impress the girls when you do that for them?
Most of them.
Spoon technique is key if you want to impress the ladies, I can tell. Well, what are you doing here? So this would be...
So there's two raw preparations here.
Okay.
This is it's ceviche. So this gets put with a mixture of lime juice, cucumber, and jalapeno.
And how do you come up with this kind of a combination? Is this something that you've just done by trial and error and you found that it tastes good and you kind of combine it with different dishes, or what's the process?
Most of the food on this menu is summer food, and that's why it's more Asian and Middle Eastern than it is French at this point.
Okay.
It'll change in the fall and winter, obviously.
Right, so whatever's available.
Yeah.
So on this combination, was this tested by your palate or someone else? Was it Ziggy?
We ran stuff like this, similar to this in Cayman.
Okay.
It's very hot there, so the big, thick, rich French food doesn't work.
Right.
When it's 35 degrees and you just come off the beach, you're not doing that. So we did a lot of ceviche and grilled
Yeah.
fish and stuff like that.
Right.
So the ceviche needs to sit a little. So essentially, that just gets tossed up and seasoned with salt.
Mm-hmm.
Now the tartare is slightly different. It's a little more Asian. So this one gets a slightly different vinaigrette. This is pickled ginger, lime juice, kaffir lime, and a little bit of honey just to balance it.
This is a fairly popular item on the menu as well when people come in before a show.
Yeah, it wasn't for the first theatre rush, but it's starting to take a bit of a...
Okay. It seems something that's very simple. It's not going to be ridiculously filling, but it's something that's nice and fresh and light, and that's the process behind it.
It's a good sharing plate for two people
Okay.
as well. You're not really going to fill right up on this.
Right.
So
So it's something to enjoy with a glass of wine. Is there a wine that you recommend with this other than the entire bottle?
other than the entire bottle, the Pinot Grigio is quite nice with this dish. Yes. So the ceviche just goes in like that,
Very nice.
and the tuna tartare we pack into a mold just to make a slightly different shape. And you can see that as the fish starts to get the milkiness on the outside, that's the acid and the vinaigrette cooking it.
So if you're making this at home, is there a length of time that you should have something that's very citrusy on fish of any kind?
It depends on the fish. If you have a fish like tuna will be very quick, so we do this to order.
Right.
But if you're using something like a halibut, it will have to sit a lot longer because it takes longer for the acid to break it down.
So would you recommend somebody marinate fish in lemon or not really? Or does it just depend on the type?
It depends on the type of fish. Now the garnish for the tartare, we use lychee.
Now what is that for someone who doesn't know what that is, i.e. me?
The lychee is a member of the mango family,
Oh.
and it's called a lychee nut by some people, but it's not technically a nut. So allergies are fine on this. You won't kill anybody. And then I just garnish with a couple of wasabi peas. And then take the mold off. Uh-oh, that didn't work very well. Get in there.
You've done better than I
Stay.
would have. Very
And then
nice.
Restaurant cooking's not restaurant cooking without colored oil.
There you
That's
go.
it, and then just a little salt on the face of the tuna.
Perfect. So from
That's
start to finish, this would take you how long to prepare?
The preparation, probably about 20 minutes, including the avocado.
So there you go. That's tuna that's not from a can, which is very nice
There you
and
go.
very, very fresh looking dish. And if you're coming here to Teatro, which is Spanish for theater, I'm learning so much today, by the way. This is one of the things that you should definitely start with. So I know you're wondering excited. Well, we're moving on to dish number 2, and what are we making next? What is this?
So this is Pacific halibut with potato and crab cannelloni and roasted asparagus.
So, is this a toilet paper roll?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
It's from your place, actually.
Oh, thank you. Well,
all right.
it's nice that you've reused my
Yeah,
things. That's
that's
very,
right.
very nice of you to do that.
Yeah.
So, how do you prepare something like this? What's the process here?
So you peel and slice potato very thin.
Mm-hmm.
You layer it over itself, and then you press it between 2 sheet pans. So the starch in the potato holds it, and then it becomes a strip, and that's what you use as the cannelloni sheet. And then you wrap that around mashed potato with crab and sautéed kale in it.
I love how you make it sound so simple.
Yeah.
It's great. You know, you lost me at the
Yeah,
when you started. You're gonna have to write that down for me later. So what's the next step then in preparing this dish?
Well, let's get started with that first. We need a little seasoning for the fish.
What seasoning are you putting on here right now? Is this salt and
Just salt and pepper. And I put a little butter on the top of the cannelloni. Now the butter goes through the potato and hits the parchment paper at the bottom, and keeps the bottom will go crispy and brown, and then we
Right.
invert it onto the plate.
I'm really glad I wasn't standing right there when you opened that, because I would have probably lost all of my eyebrows. How much arm hair have you lost over the course of a lifetime, do you think?
Oh, plenty. It grows back pretty thick though.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention that, but it is. Yeah, it's rather coarse looking. But you look like you could make some nice sweaters with that.
It's true.
So now, obviously, heating the pan.
What am I doing here? I just put the fish in the oven. That was silly. Alright, so.
And this is this seared, or what do you do with this? How are you
I
cooking
just
this?
sear it on one side and put it in the oven.
Okay.
And then I turn it over and let the heat drop through the bottom of the fish. You just cook it on one side.
Right.
And that's basically it.
So whenever you're putting all this together, when you're planning for this, how much of this do you prepare beforehand for an average night? Is it something that you make a large quantity of, or you kind of gauge the crowd?
The cannellonis, I'll probably make about 12 of them.
Right.
And those last, I never let them sit more than 2 days.
Mhm.
After the third day, they get soft. They pick up the moisture in the fridge.
Mhm.
So you have to get rid of them every couple of days. But we haven't had too much wastage on them so far.
Right.
That's all right.
Now, because you deal with so many people that are local here, is there ever a point where this dish, particularly, you would replace something else, the cannelloni instead of, or the fish, either one of those?
Well, halibut will be good till probably mid-October, depending on the season. Asparagus, probably September. And then, well, potatoes you can get all the time, but
Right.
the season well, season in terms of availability, and then the season in terms of when it's minus 40, you don't want a light fish like this.
Right. Now, when you're cooking this, is there a certain heat that people should be cooking the actual fish at? Are you just trying to get a really searing hot pan?
You want to get a crust on the fish, so in order to do that, you can't let it stick, so the pan can't be too cold, and if it's too hot, it'll blacken.
Right.
So if you get basically, if you get the pan to the right temperature, you'll get a nice crust. If it's too cold, it'll stick. If it's too hot, it'll burn.
Right. Now, you also were telling me that you have a very interesting, I want to say, theory in how to become someone like you, if someone wants to become a chef like you.
Yeah.
What was your theory for school and whether you should go to school or not? Not saying that you shouldn't go to school to go learn how to cook, but...
You go to spend $10,000, go to cooking school, make $10 an hour. Don't spend $10,000, don't go to cooking school, make $10 an hour.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
And you started in a very unique way. You basically started at the very bottom, correct?
Yeah, my brother got me into the industry.
Ah, so he's to blame then.
Yeah, I'll get him for that one day.
So, and you just put the asparagus in, and you're doing what? Basically blanching it?
I'm
or?
just quickly blanching it, and then I'm going to get some color on it in a pan with a bit of butter. And the sauce is over here. The sauce is corn butter sauce. So it's made with a corn stock, which you can see here. Corn cobs are a good sugar store. So you can cook them off pretty much the same way you would a chicken stock.
Now, how long would you use something like that, or how long would you boil something like that before you get the right flavor?
If the corn's got a lot of sugar in it, you'll get a lot of yield out of it. You won't have to cook it very long. But if it doesn't, it'll take a long time for you to get This one here, as you can see by the watermark, that corn wasn't particularly good. I
Right.
ended up starting with about 5 liters, and I'll end up with about a liter.
So should it be darker to have more sugar in it? Is that what you're looking for, essentially?
It depends. Sometimes the corn looks terrible and you make the stock and you get a great stock. Sometimes you need more corn to get the same flavor.
Okay. I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but when you cook, your pans and your pots, they look evil because there's a lot of crackling and smoking going on.
Yeah, well, when you first start cooking, you feel the burns, but after a while, I get home and then that's when I see the burns and the cuts. I don't really feel them right now. So you just want a little bit of color on your asparagus for a bit of flavor.
All right, so we have basically another minute and a half to
Yeah.
put this together,
That's right.
and then you're going to plate it, and then the whole dish will be complete at that point?
Yeah.
Perfect, okay.
Okay.
So that fish is done now?
Yeah. So you can see it's cooked down to about here. But now the heat that's come from the bottom of the fish is going to come through, plus the heat in the pan. So it sort of finishes in the pan outside the oven.
So everything's out of the oven, we're ready to plate.
Okay, so to plate this one, I start with the butter sauce.
It's a very nice, fine, artistic touch that,
The smear.
yeah.
Yes.
I don't really particularly like the word smear, but yeah,
that's,
okay.
that's the technical term apparently.
Okay. Careful with my roll of toilet paper, I'm going to need that back.
This is right. Okay, so you get a little color on the top there.
Oh, nice.
Then the fish goes on. And then we put the asparagus across.
Is there any colored oil for this one?
Oh yeah, of course.
Can't have a dish without the colored oil. Which color is it this time?
Well, I got some purple basil for this dish as well.
Very nice.
And then we have paprika oil, if it decides to come out of the bottle.
Wow, what a fine touch.
And that's it.
There you go. Finished dish. You make it look so easy. Do
Well,
you want the awkward hug now or later?
later. It'll cost you a $5 too.
I don't understand what that means. Is that money?
Yeah.
Oh. So the awkward hug is coming, but first we've done 2 fish dishes, but now we want to do something that's, I don't want to say more substantial, but a little bit more red meat type color to it. So what are we making here? What is this exactly?
So this is a couscous crusted lamb loin.
Right. Looks
And-
very impressive, by the way, the cut. Did you
Yeah.
do this yourself?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
He's good with the knife. What else is involved in this dish?
This is a sheep's cheese from North Africa, mainly Lebanon and Morocco. I soak it in water to get the salt out. And that goes on top of the lamb loin. It comes with caponata, which is a vegetable ragu in the black pan there. This green puree is a mint chimichurri, which is basically mint and garlic and lemon juice and vinegar. And then it's topped with grape and walnut salsa that's based in pomegranate molasses.
Wow, sounds amazing. So this all goes together somehow. So what are we doing first?
First thing we're going to do is get our pan back up to temperature. And this lamb loin's been marinated in garlic, paprika, cumin, and za'atar
And how long do you marinate it for?
overnight.
Okay.
So you get some flour. It's a basic breading with couscous instead of breadcrumbs. So get a pan hot. You let this go a little bit to get the crust cooked and also to get the heat going through the meat.
How long would you want to leave it go for?
About 2 minutes on top and then about another, for this size, about 2 minutes in the oven, and then I turn it over and let it rest.
Right. So this then goes in the oven.
Yeah.
And does anything else go in the oven with it, or is it just this that goes in the oven?
No, everything else that I do is going to be done on the top while we're waiting for that.
All right. So that's going to sear oven,
Yeah.
and then we'll put everything together.
Yeah,
This is so easy.
yeah.
Ready? I didn't even have to pay. There might be another one at the end of the show. So the lamb's out of the oven. Now you've just got to get everything else done.
Yeah, so the caponata is going to come up to temperature. It's pretty much there now. This pan is a non-stick because that cheese is difficult to fry without it. Or it is possible, but it's much easier. There's less swearing this way. So caponata in the center. I'm going to start the halloumi.
Now, how long would that stay in the pan for? Because it's cheese. You would ordinarily...
Just to color. It needs about another 30 seconds because you can see it's starting to brown.
It's got a really interesting smell to it when it fries as well.
So basically, as soon as the cheese is soft on one side and it's starting to color, I turn it over. And that's it for that. So we can finish the plate. The chimichurri is just a herb flavor because the grapes and the pomegranate molasses make it too sweet and sour, and this just sort of balances it out.
Almost got your yin and yang kind of design going on here.
More smears.
You think they would come up with a nicer word for that than smear, but
Yeah.
we're not in charge.
I didn't come up with a name. I just like the way it looks on the plate. So then the lamb loin. Cut it in half, like this, and the center of the plate. The halloumi over top, and we finish with the salsa. I take a bit of juice from the outside because it mixes the grape juice and the pomegranate molasses. It's kind of
I don't use this word often, but this is decadent. This is really decadent looking. I don't know if I would know what to do with this.
just eat it.
Just eat it. Well,
That's
very,
it.
very simple instructions. I like
Yeah.
that. It's New Zealand. Very simple. What are you, a moron? You eat it. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. There you go. So that's it for this week's show. Thank you very much, Ziggy. Really appreciate it. Your chef is absolutely amazing, wonderful. It is Teatro Cafe. Can I say it like that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Come and see us. GCTC right here inside. Come and see a show and have a little bit of tapas beforehand. And I'm going to try one of these. So we had the tuna. We also had this beautiful dish right here as well. My God, this is ridiculous. But I am going to try the halibut. Is that okay?
Excellent choice.
All right, here we go. I'm going to get my fingers in there and get dirty. You would enjoy that. That awkward hug was totally worth it. It's Ottawa Eats. Thanks for watching. Use my plate. No?
It's okay.